Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the debut record from Robse, Harlekin Krieger, out August 16th on Reaper Entertainment. The album has 11 tracks, 45 minutes in length, and they are a German melodic death metal band. I think they're a lot more than just that, but considering their sound and the core of that same sound, I'm okay with that designation. Now, as far as the design is concerned, let me start off by saying that I'm not always a big fan of intro tracks or even outros unless they play into the concept of the record or they adding something to the fluidity of the album. I feel like they're at times overused. Not the case with this record. I love the intro. The intro sets up what the rest of the record is going to be like. Not necessarily from a musical standpoint, but rather from an attitude standpoint. This intro sets the tone, it sets the table for the attitude, the vibe, the atmosphere, for lack of a better word, that this record puts forward, song in and song out. So because of that, because of how creative that intro becomes, I enjoyed it tremendously. It kickstarts. It really kickstarts. It's like adding fuel to a fire as far as a record design is concerned, and the fluidity that ensues after that. An album that feels pretty much like a roller coaster ride from that first intro all the way to the last song. A lot of ebbs and flows, a lot of ups and downs. There's no necessarily two songs that sound alike back to back. Is a very diverse record. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's an eclectic album, but it's a very diverse record with a lot of uniquenesses from song to song, and the design of this record allows you to see all of them, to feel all of them, but at the end of the day, it's still a very cohesive experience. At no given time within this album do you feel disconnected from the record, or do you feel like these songs don't belong together. There's always a sense of bringing everything under one single umbrella, but still keeping in mind the diversity and the uniquenesses that are needed on each and every single song. Now, as far as the sound is concerned, I touched upon this already. It is a melodic death metal album if you look at the main characteristics of the band, if you look at the main characteristics of the songwriting and of the songs themselves. But it's an album that brings other influences like industrial, folk, classic heavy metal. It's an album that really offers a lot of different ideas. It offers a lot of different textures, a lot of different sounds. It has a little bit of a symphonic backdrop to it in a lot of its tracks, not necessarily as the driver of the sound, as the driver of the essence, but definitely creating a layer that allows the unique vibe and the unique atmosphere of each and every single song to become a little bit more clear and to come a little bit more into the forefront. It also adds a size to the overall sound. It makes this a bigger sounding record, a record that feels a lot larger, that has not just volume but substance within that volume, a record that has a lot of different layers to it, and having that symphonic backdrop a lot of the times really helps define the melodic side, but also that more atmospheric vibe, setting the tone, setting the mood type of approach. I really enjoyed that. But it's a record that has as its main course, as far as the sound is concerned, definitely the guitar playing. I love the riffage, I love the guitar sound, I love that heaviness on the guitars, that consistent distortion and heaviness on the guitars without necessarily sounding unpolished. It's still a very well crafted, very well produced record, but they kept the aggression in the tone of the guitars, in the distortion of the guitars, and I think that's a huge piece of the puzzle on this album, because regardless of how melodic the tracks get, how folky they become here and there, the main chorus, the main melody, or I should say the main driving force of this album is that thicker, heavier guitar sound. The melody comes in either through the guitars or through the keys. Different elements come in, different vibes come in, like a folkier vibe here and there. All of those are driven by also the guitars, keys, and other elements, but having a constant sound or a constant essence, a constant fingerprint as far as the guitars are concerned, I think that goes a long way in creating that sort of idea that the uniquenesses of the songs are there, but the overall idea of the record needs to be represented. And I felt like the heaviness on the guitar sound really represented that sense of balance and cohesiveness. Now, the other element that I enjoyed tremendously on this record was the drum sound. I felt like the drums had so much strength. They're not necessarily overpowering or overly heavy, but they have a thickness to them that adds to the overall thickness of the sound, that adds a very important layer to the overall sound of this album. But they had so much character, they had so much soul, and when you have a drum sound that has character, that has soul, that has such a positive impact on how you view an album, on how you view the sound of the album, on how much width it gives to the sound of the album, and the drums on this record definitely deliver that. Vocally, from a harsh vocal standpoint, very consistent, with the right intensity, with the right aggression to match that same intensity and aggression that exists or lacks of in the songs. I think having Alina as a secondary vocalist with her angelic voice adds a lot more. It makes the vocal performance not be one-dimensional, which is exactly what would have happened if you just have male harsh vocals from start to end. This allows the vocal performance to also be more layered, but also be more dynamic, to almost match the same dynamic approach that you're getting in the sound. So this, to me, was a very nice surprise, was a winning formula that they used her throughout the record, sometimes more as a layer, backing vocal step layer, sometimes a little bit more as a main protagonist in the story, creating almost a duet style approach. So this record has a lot to offer vocally. It's, like I said, not one-dimensional vocal approach, and she definitely brings a lot to the table with her voice, with her delivery, and with everything that she can do, allowing it all to come together perfectly, which makes, in my opinion, this the best debut record of 2024. I'm not gonna beat it around the bush. This album surprised me tremendously. I knew the potential of the band members. I knew the potential of what they could possibly do. I wasn't sure if they were going to meet my expectations for what I had hoped this band could do, and they not only met my expectations, they surpassed my expectations. This is a phenomenal sounding record. I love the fact that is Germanly driven from a lyrical standpoint. I think that adds character. I think that makes the album sound more organic, feel more organic, and then it has this built-in not only aggression and heaviness, but incredible melodies and melancholy that comes with those melodies that really elevates the quality of the experience of going from first all the way to last as far as the record is concerned, and therefore, like I said, the best debut album of 2024, at least up to this point. Now, as far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with Menthes. Great guitar sound. I love the backing vocals on this track, sporadically throughout the track. At times, almost gives you a little bit of a battle hymn feel to the song. It gives that sort of vibe, that sort of presence. It makes the track feel a little bit bigger. The drums help as well because they give substance to the sound and they increase the volume of the sound as well. The symphonic backdrop, I think it helps a lot on this track, more from an atmospheric standpoint, but also from a size perspective. Anytime you can add a layer like that, you're always going to increase how much bigger the track comes across. Vocally, I felt like it finished off very dynamic. It starts a little bit more one-dimensional, and then as the song progresses, it picks up more elements outside of the backing vocals to make the experience feel a lot more lively, a lot more energetic. So it was a nice conclusion to the song vocally that I was not expecting. Next we have Aus dem Gleichgewicht. Now I probably butchered the name of that song, and I apologize for that, but it is what it is. This is, and I was trying to pick songs that I could pronounce the name as my favorite songs, I'm not going to lie. But this one is my favorite track on the entire album, so I could not just push it to the side because it has a name that I'm obviously going to have a hard time pronouncing. I love this track. I love how melodic it is. To me, this is a more traditional melodic death metal song. And not only a more traditional melodic death metal song, but perhaps a German take on a Finnish staple. When I think of melodic death metal coming out of Finland, it always has a high level of melancholy. And this song delivers that, but with a German touch. The guitars sound phenomenal throughout the entire song. I love the way the song starts off and the way it picks up. It's a track that has really intense verses. The verses have incredible momentum. And then once you get to the chorus is a little bit more melodic. And with that, a little bit more melancholic. It slows down the track a little bit. It gives you a sense of pause, a sense of inner thought that you don't get from the more aggressive and intense verses. This creates such a great dynamic between those two pieces of the track. So you have the more traditional, heavier, straight to the point death metal approach, musically and vocally, and then you have that more classic melodic finished death metal approach in the chorus. Great song, great dynamic. I thought the keys on this track, while subtle, were incredibly important in order to create that more melancholic atmosphere, in order to infuse the right amount of melody as well. So while being a subtle element, is an element that has an outstanding impact in the quality of the track. Really the last track on this record, Viva la Caida. This is a track that carries a little bit of a folky essence to it. I'm not saying this is a folky song, by no means, that's not the case. But it's a song that in its own melody, in its own sound, it brings this inherent folkiness with it. And I thought that was a really nice touch, because when you look at this as the closing song, a lot of the attributes that this track offers, that more folky melody, if you will, the heavy drums, the great riffage, the vocal performance, bringing different sorts of elements into the song, different sorts of influences into the song. This track almost becomes easily a catch-all. It's almost the song that represents everything that you've heard in the album up until that point, brought together in one single track in order to close it off. So it has a great sense of finality for the album, but it also has that sense of finality because, like I said, it captures all the best moments of the record, both musically and vocally, and then it finds a way of blending them all together in one single song. Because of that, it really stood out to me. It's a song that has that sort of essence that needs to come at the end of the album in order to better represent what the overall experience was all about. This is it, Robse with Harlekin Krieger, out August 16th on Reaper Entertainment. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Hit me up in the comment section. See you all at the next video. Take care, guys.